Thank you. We'll now take public testimony. Clerk, please proceed.
Yes, we have an opposition speaker, Josephine S. Talamantes. If you'd come forward, ma'am, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, Council, Councilman Cole and all the members. I'm here to speak on behalf of last year's recommendation by Councilman Alvarez to put $100,000 into the Bay Bridge Community Center for upgrade. That is imperative at this point. The building has been occupied for 35 years from the previous tenant, and has been left vacant for the last 3 years. And it is being overrun by our unsheltered population. And that initial $100,000 should go back into upgrading that facility, regardless of who is the future tenant. That building belongs to the city. It will be next to Chicano Park, which is our newest national landmark, and it should be brought up to quality. There were staff decisions that were made, not the decision you all made, because it was unsure whether it would be a third-party rental or who would take responsibility. But that building belongs to the city, and the city should take responsibility of upgrading it at all cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Alvarez.
I want to now focus strictly on the Bay Bridge situation, given that it sort of became news to the council when the budget was released in April, that the allocation that was made by the council last year was not included in the CIP book. So maybe you can help us understand what happened there.
Not a problem. Thank you, Councilmember. The $100,000 that was allocated last year in the year-end report is actually still appropriated in the CIP. It's a funding source used in the city's annual allocation for facilities repair, ABT 00001. After that appropriation was made last year, staff worked with facilities financing, planning, as well as Park and Rec to determine if that funding source was eligible for the project. Based on the proposed use of the site as a museum as opposed to a recreation center, it was determined that it was not in conformance with the PFFP, the Public Facilities Financing Plan, and therefore could not be used to support the project. Given that the project, I know you have if you'd like to ask a follow-up on that one.
Well, I haven't seen an exact definition. I don't know if it was the city attorney's office who provided you guidance on that, or who said that the $100,000 could not be used for that particular community center. It's still going to be a publicly accessible community center, and that could all be prescribed in whatever lease we enter into with whoever we enter into a lease. And so I'm concerned about that.
We can definitely have the city attorney give an official opinion on that, of the use of those funding sources. I believe your office had specifically asked about what other additional funding sources could be considered for this project. Of course, given that it doesn't qualify, if it doesn't qualify for this DIF FBA funding, we would have to look into the more general funding sources in the CIP, your general fund contributions, your infrastructure fund, as well as debt. As you and the council are all very much aware, those are very competitive funding sources. Council Policy 814 sets prioritization that staff needs to consider specifically for these types of funding sources. So our recommendation would be, when we come back in the mid-year report, we will look at other projects that have these types of funding sources and see if they can be used for the Bay Bridge Park facility.
Well, thank you for offering that. However, I don't want to wait until mid-year next year, which will be sometime in February. I want to make sure we get going on this city-owned asset that needs to be improved. And so I guess just to be definitive, you said there is a CIP, but there isn't. There is no CIP project associated with this building, is there?
With this building. It's in an annual allocation for all general funded facilities. And how about we get you a response tonight from the city attorney that works with facilities financing, so that we can wrap up that that particular issue, and then we can work with you and your staff going forward if that is the case, if there's other sources out there we could access.
I would appreciate that, except we're approving the budget in the next item, and so
Okay.
I want to make sure we actually have a CIP created, as was in the motion on this particular item exactly 1 year ago. which I made, and it was seconded by Councilmember Gomez, which is to create a CIP. So a CIP was requested to be created, and it wasn't created. And so I'm just concerned about that. So I want to create a CIP now to ensure that it actually is there. And so I need to get your feedback on how to do that at this time. How much, in terms of dollar amounts, is needed for a creation of a CIP? What's the policy?
We'll defer to Public Works on the estimate that would be needed to do the preliminary engineering for a project of that sort.
Okay. Public Works folks here? Because we had another document that the council received after the budget was approved that said the 100,000 was allocated for preliminary study through the CIP monitoring report. Is that how much you think you'd need?
Good afternoon, everybody. James McElvert, Director of Public Works and City Engineer. On this project and that, this is a small project, so normally larger stuff, we'd look to phase the financing. This is a small tenant improvement type of project in that, 100 grand. I don't know exactly if it's 100 grand or 110 grand, but we would look towards, if we could, get it fully financed. That would be our desire.
Okay.
It's not necessary. You could create a CIP for 10 grand, but we wouldn't get very far executing the project.
Right.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So we can create a CIP at any amount. I would request that we include that in the motion today on this item. The council did approve this last year, not only in the CIP action we took, but also in the budget. And I understand that that was vetoed by the mayor, but this one was not. And so I would like to request that as part of the motion that get included in this item. Mr. Kersey, are you okay with that? To creation of the CIP?
That's fine with me. Are we, City Attorney, are we good to do that?
Brant Will, Deputy City Attorney. Yes, you can certainly create the CIP. At this point, it would not be funded,
right.
is my understanding.
Yeah, I just needed to be created at this point because we tried to do that last year, and now we didn't find out that it wasn't created till 10 months later. So I need that created, and so I appreciate that. If we could also just title it something that's, I know we're renaming some CIP projects to more accurately reflect what they are. So I would request that this CIP be named Chicano Park Community Center instead of Bay Bridge, because people just don't really sometimes know what that is. So appreciate that, and with that, I'd second the motion.
Okay, and we're working on getting that on the screen. Pro Tem Bree?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that this item did pass out of the Budget Committee unanimously.
Thank you, Pro Tem Bree. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for that clarity in regards to what the action was directed last year to Mr. Alvarez and trying to move it forward. I did want to thank also staff and the IBA staff for following up on my request on Transnet. I really appreciate that, and the fact that we're trying to spend down more of the money. I also appreciate that. So hopefully we can move forward in continuing that trend. Aside from that, I'm supportive of the item with the amendment today. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are still trying to get that on the screen for clarity. And Councilmember Kersey and Councilmember Alvarez, are you clear on the motion? Yes, all righty. So seeing no one else on the lights, we have a motion by Councilmember Kersey, seconded by Councilmember Alvarez. Please vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.